Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to another fine edition of Debate Amongst Friends. We're so sorry. Chris decided that he wanted to play a Christmas prank before the holidays. It's your boy, the Professor John Gotti, and normally I'd be an advocate for a certain podcast beast, but he's out there chilling in Miami, beaching it up. So I'm running alone this week. Hope you like it. But let's get ourselves in it real quick. I'm going to do a pretty quick show. We're going to talk about a lot of the clinching that's happening, a lot of the playoff scenarios that could actually take place. We now have 3 weeks left in the NFL regular season. Week 14 wrapped up on Monday. And before that, let's look at these scenarios. Let's first look at, and this is probably the more interesting of them all, is let's look at the AFC right now. So right now the Kansas City Chiefs is still leading the AFC overall with 11-2 record. The Patriots and the Houston Texans are both tied. Of course, the Texans lost to the Patriots, so the Patriots will right now continually to hold home field advantage. I'm going to talk about that Patriots game in a second, actually. And the fourth slot for the division champions as of today, this is only as of today, so let's not get this backwards, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the wild card slots right now is the LA Chargers and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Chargers and Chiefs, they play tomorrow. That's going to be a heck of a matchup right there. I'm actually looking forward. I am going to be watching this one very closely because, the Chiefs did their thing. I felt like they probably could have done more. They was definitely playing off against a very hungry Ravens team that was right there. They're technically still in the hunt to get into the playoffs. Actually, they're the number 6 seed. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But I think I was thinking more of their record competed to the Pittsburgh Steelers for the AFC Championship, AFC North Championship. But it was a great game back and forth from Patrick Mahomes. He's that kid. He's that kid. I know a certain pissant Stephen A. Smith like to say he's a bad, Aaron Rodgers is the bad man. I don't know. We might have to start saying that about Patrick Mahomes soon because Patrick Mahomes is a bad mofo. And I say shut your mouth. But still in the hunt, we still have the Colts, the Dolphins, the Titans, the Broncos, and even the Browns still mathematically is still in there. A lot of things have to happen for them to make it to the playoffs. But Baker Mayfield's been playing at a astounding level. People who don't know who Baker Mayfield was before we went to the NFL, they're starting to see it now. And I think the ceiling for him is only going to get better and it's only going to get higher. And I feel like he's always going to try to grab those brass rings and shut up those haters. But let's talk about this Patriots game. So the Patriots lost in Miami, that same town that a podcasting beast, Doc Lesnar, is currently enjoying himself in, and we all miss him out there. Have a great time out there, man. We'll see you next week, sir. But the miracle in Miami. So there was a lot of points that was left off the board for the Patriots. They had ample opportunities. I know the two plays that people are talking about were the end of the first half where Tom Brady is taking a sack, and of course the Gronk stumble. It's not even a fumble, it was a stumble. But I also felt like that the Patriots just they played their game plan, and I don't know if it was just a bad day at the office for Belichick or something, but it was pretty unpatriot-like, so to speak. But definitely give a lot of credit to the Dolphins and their offense and I guess we'll talk about the final play. The two laterals, and for King and Drake to be able to see the seam, take the seam, and to have the wherewithal to break it to the outside and hope that he could beat Gronk, who's a heck of an athlete within his own right. But I honestly felt like he probably shouldn't have been out. I mean, I know why he was out there, but I don't know why Bill Belichick and all of his, geniusness thought it was a good idea to have Gronk out there. He definitely has some really good defensive backs that he could have put in the game, or at least in that scenario, to um, help things out. But I mean, it is what it is. They lost. They went down now to 9-4. Very uncommon 9-4 for a Patriots team as well too. If you really think about it, the Texans. I don't know why the NFL this past weekend decided to give all of the underdogs a fighting chance. A very a man with two hands has a fighting chance, so to speak. Not to be controversial for a second. But the Texans they got the business. They got the business from the Colts. And the Colts ended up winning. But I mean, Deshaun Watson definitely kept them in the game. But their defense didn't do them any favors whatsoever. They broke their, I believe it was a 8-game winning streak or a 9-game winning streak. So that winning streak is now snapped. Hopefully they just keep up the same pace, and their next week's opponent don't give them the same trouble. I mean, they're going up against the Jets on Saturday, but I mean, the Jets were still pretty hungry as well. But I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I feel like the Texans is gonna be 10-4 after this week is over, and we'll see what happens there. We already talked about the Chargers and the Chiefs. I mean, you can hear from all the other different media outlets for Patrick Mahomes and his no look pass and his 4th and 9, and why not? He said, oh well, you saw me do it once. Well, here comes another one. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a very interesting team. It was a very weird game, and there was a lot of weird games this week actually. And I'll definitely talk about that when I hit the NFC. But they lost to the Raiders, the Oakland, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders, and it was just unnatural. Like, that's the kind of loss that can cause a head coach's job. Like, even though they're still making it to the playoffs, but like that's the kind of thing that looks really bad. You're trying to clinch yourself a higher seed, and every game matters at this point. And sorry about that. I'm also getting people asking me for more reads, and I'm just providing that for them real quickly. But yeah, but that's the kind of thing that can cost Mike Tomlin his job, especially if they have these same kind of blunders. And the last second field goal to try to win the game definitely hurt a lot. Well, to tie up the game, definitely hurt a lot. But I mean, there's not much you could do there. It was in Oakland, and I mean, a lot of the stories was coming out, and the turf was pretty bad. I mean, yeah, let's hope that like Mike Tomlin doesn't turn into Mike McCarthy there. Uh, but let's look at some of the Week 15 matchups. We already talked about the prime time Chargers versus Chiefs game out there in Arrowhead tomorrow at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6:20 out there in the East Coast for y'all. Uh, a couple of other games as well too. I mean, the Broncos. I don't know about the Broncos either. They're just one of those weird teams. But they're hosting the Browns. I mean, I already talked about Baker Mayfield. I feel like the Broncos might end up losing this game. If they can make Baker Mayfield uncomfortable for majority of the game, they have a shot. But the Broncos' offense is non-existent, and that's why I think that the Browns is going to steal this one. The Texans against the Jets. I mean, I feel like the Jets are still going to come out there and fight strong and get them, you know, 2.5 strong quarters in. But at the end of the day, I feel like Deshaun Watson and his, Demaryius Thomas and the rest of those boys are gonna just, uh, it's just gonna be too much for them. Let me see. One more game. Patriots and Steelers is definitely. It's also going to be a pretty. It's going to be a very important game because that's now talking about seedings. So, I feel like that both teams are coming off of a loss. The Patriots are coming off of a mental mistake loss, while the Steelers are coming off of a banana peel loss. I feel like the Patriots might end up bouncing back. They're going to try to steal this one out there in Heinz Field, and it's going to be I think that was going to be a slobber knocker. So let's jump away from the AFC. Let's talk some NFC real quick. So here we have the NFC playoff standing right now. The New Orleans Saints clinched the NFC South. Congrats to them. I don't even want to say it was a shellacking against the Buccaneers. I feel like a certain podcasting beast, Doc, will tell you about how much the Buccaneers definitely made Drew Brees uncomfortable throughout the whole first half. Got a couple of takeaways, and Jameis was being Jameis. But unfortunately, you don't win on based off the first half of games. And that second half, the Saints decided to play like the Saints team that everyone expected it to be. And of course, they ended up winning 28-14 out there in Tampa Bay. But kudos to the Saints. I mean, they're having a heck of a season. They're currently holding on to that #1 seed in the NFC, and hopefully they can ride that throughout the playoffs. But I mean, their next opponent is the Panthers, who's lost, I believe, 6 straight games. And this might be it for the Panthers. This might be it, and this is a Monday night game too. But I feel like this might be it for the Panthers. Ron Rivera might be packing his bags soon. You heard it from me first. He might be packing in his bags. And I'm not saying after this season, but it's gonna be definitely next season. If they're gonna have a strong start, but like trip towards the finish line, like you're not gonna stay as a head coach in the NFL. It just doesn't happen that way. But I feel like the Saints will continue to ride again, ride or die, and that's one off of 1LP. Continue to ride this high, and give that L to the Panthers. The LA Rams. See, now this was the game that I was saying was just so bad, and weather has so much to do with it, but a lot of it was just terrible offensive calling by Mike Mache. I mean, you're in Chicago. You're out there in the Midway, and it's cold. And when it's cold outside, and you're a warm weather team, like you really need to hang your hat on your run game. And I feel like that was the one part of the game. For a team that we talk so highly about when it comes to their balance, both passing and rushing, they definitely lacked in the rushing department. Rushing Todd Gurley for only 28 yards. I mean, you're never going to win a game like that. It just never going to end well. And I mean, Jared Goff had a very Jeff Fisher coached-esque performance. Throwing 4 interceptions, and a lot of those interceptions were just dumb. I mean, not even dumb. It was just one of those I can't believe type of do this. Jared Goff likely be an MVP candidate with Todd Gurley is out of the conversation right now as well too. And I believe it's going to end up being Patrick Mahomes because of all the things that he's doing this year. But like you're playing like you're playing for your old head coach, the coach that drafted you, and like you didn't help your team at all. You didn't do anything. If it was just basketball, if it was a plus minus, you'd be minus 30 something. Like it was that bad of a game for him. But and the doc heard me say this I think like after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, I And I had a lot of people on social media laugh at me saying, "No, you know, they're not gonna win this division. You know, it's all about that bad man Aaron Rodgers." And I said, I don't know. I feel like this might be something going on in Green Bay. Like, I feel like this might be the Chicago Bears' year because they're really using their defense, you know, and defensive player of the year candidate, Khalil Mack, is, you know, running wild in a very "what you gonna do, brother" fashion, impacting the game so much. But to talk about the other quarterback, I mean Mitch Trubisky, you know, who's a rising star within his own right and has, you know, a lot further to go. And I feel like this year, you know, a lot more people are giving him a, you know, second look and be like, okay, I see what you're doing, kid. Let's see what you could do, you know, a little bit later. Like, this might be one of his worst games